And now on Chatterbox, we're lucky enough to be joined by Robert Howard of the Blow Monkeys. Robert, hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, despite everything.
Yes, quite. Well, thank you for coming on. Now, just sort of looking at what sort of era the Blow Monkeys sort of started. I can see, I'm looking at Wikipedia, so tell me if it's right or wrong, but Blow Monkeys themselves formed in 1981.
Yeah, that's right. 40 years ago now.
Wow, it is, isn't it? It's just, yeah. Like many others, I bought a Blow Monkey records back in the 80s, and I think we're looking sort of like, I remember probably about 84, 85 time for me. But let's start at the beginning. How you got into music. Now, did you come from a musical family, or was it just something you developed with your friends at school or something?
No, it was, well, my parents both loved music and sang a lot in the car and everything, but I didn't really have any musicians in the family. But I left with my mother to live in Australia when I was 15, so I lived for 4 or 5 years in the mid-70s, and I started playing guitar there and busking. So I sort of came back to England in 1981 with the idea of being into music and forming a group, because, well, really I'm useless at doing anything else,
Well, you seem pretty good at doing that, though, so that worked out well.
Well, I've got no choice.
Well, brilliant. Now, the members of the group, I mean, were they just friends you had, or did you sort of advertise for them in a music mag? Or?
No, well, what happened was in those days you'd answer an ad in the back of Melody Maker, and so I answered an ad and went and joined this band, and well, I went for an audition and I met Neville there, the saxophone player, and within a kind of week or so we decided that we were going to form a band ourselves, and so we found Mick, the bass player, Mick Anker, and there was a kid running around who said, I can play drums, and so we got him in, Angus, young kid at the time, and so that was it. We were off and running within a couple of weeks, really. That's just the way it happened.
Okay, and a record deal seemed to come quite quickly. I'm just looking at when you were releasing songs.
Well, it wasn't really. I mean, in 1981, so we signed the record deal with RCA in 1983.
Okay.
So those 2 years in between were really filled with lots of rehearsing, lots of writing, trying to get better, trying to get gigs, trying to do everything that you have to do to try and get off the ground. Eventually, we got a kind of we got a residency at a little venue in Hampstead, and the record company started to come. But it was 2 years of hard graft, really.
Sure, well, it certainly paid off. 2 years. I mean, obviously, I've spoken to people that it's taken an awful lot longer than 2 years. But here we are. So, was it the Blow Monkeys as a group straight away, or did that name sort of filter in over a period of time?
Well, no, the name, the original drummer Angus, the guy I told you about, he came up with the name, and I thought, that'll do to start with. I'll think of something better. And it's too late for that now. Well,
yeah, it's certainly memorable because it dawned on me of who could be interesting to pop on, and certainly the Blow Monkeys by name, as opposed to any of the members, certainly jumped out at me. Hence how I contacted you. I thought, yeah. And do we know why Angus chose that name at all?
I think he was tripping at the time, if I'm honest.
Well, good answer. So it'll always be.
I'd be honest. And I thought, that'll do, because we were kind of jazzy and poppy, so there was a mixture of those two elements within the name. But of course, the name has different connotations depending on where you go in the world.
Yep, okay. No, I can see that. Okay, and your own name is sort of quite interesting. Now, you're known as Dr. Robert. So how basically did you become Dr. Robert?
Well, I mean, when I went to live in Australia, my real name is Bruce Robert Howard. So Bruce is my first name, and I'd seen that Monty Python sketch where everybody's called Bruce in Australia. So I thought, okay, I'll use my middle name, Robert. So when I came back to England, I thought, well, we're going to be in a band, you need to make up a name. Everybody used false names or had a name. So I thought, Dr. Robert will do. It's that Beatles song. It's quite cool. But, there's no great mystery behind it. It's just that I felt I wanted a name to hide behind. At least, there could have been worse. Could have been Sting or something,
Well, yeah, yeah. I've never asked him that. Okay, so I'm just looking at how the single sort of got released, and it seems like we were scraping the top 100 with Forbidden Fruit, Digging Your Scene in 1986. Yeah, so that's sort of like number 12 in the UK. I see it was quite a big hit across the world. So what was it like to be propelled from doing wine bars and bars in Hampstead through to actually just suddenly appearing on Top of the Pops? Because it is sudden, because no one actually knew how Digging Your Scene was going to do after the sort of levels the sales for the previous singles, and there you were, propelled into stardom and Top of the Pops. And how did it hit you hard, or did you just take it in your stride?
Well, I loved it. I mean, that's what you're doing it for. That's what we were after. We wanted to, at that point, the idea was, let's be successful. We signed to a major label. I had no idea Digging Your Scene was going to be a hit. It was just another song, and we were on our way, and we were making records, and we were getting slowly bigger. But this just changed everything, because it was a hit in America. It was a hit everywhere. So suddenly we were going around the world, and we became known for that song. So that song was really a life changer.
Sure, no, perfect. And I see we had some other sort of top 30 hits arriving. It Doesn't Have to Be This Way, a very famous song there. Choice.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let's say we've done the Top of the Pops bit and everything else. What other? I mean, were you sort of jetting around and appearing on music shows all over the world? Because I see you, USA, you sold quite well, Ireland, Belgium. Yeah, was it TV all over the world?
Yeah, it was the 80s, So you made a video. You hoped it got on MTV, and if it did well, you went around the world promoting it. I mean, that was great fun. I'm really glad we did it, but eventually that all comes to an end, and all you've got is the music. So it was always important. I was a songwriter, so I spent a lot of time, working on stuff and trying to keep everything going. It wasn't all just like jetting around the world, but yeah, I'm not going to deny that wasn't great fun. It was fantastic time to be young and to be successful.
Well, jetting around the world, I personally don't think of it as being a holiday. I mean, it's hard work. If you're in that city that night and that country that night, and it goes on and on. I'm pretty damn exhausted. I get exhausted just going to the Med and back. So what it's like to, it is hard work. I certainly wasn't trying to say it was a holiday by any means.
It's not as hard work as coal mining. I mean, it's not proper. I loved it, and it's nice being looked after. But then, inevitably, it doesn't matter who you are; it all falls away, and then you're back to it's about the music, So I was kind of aware of that all along, that there was something false about it, but it was great fun.
Sure. Now, at some point, you obviously went from the size of the venue you were singing in. I guess that you went from that wine bar or that bar in Hampstead area, West Hampstead and all over that area, and you got to bigger venues. So, you start playing to thousands. Did it seem strange, or did you just, like the Top of the Pops bit and all over the world, you just what you wanted and you just took it in your strides again?
Just took it in a stride. I mean, that's what I want. It didn't freak me out. I enjoyed it. We played Wembley Stadium with Rod Stewart one time, although we got booed off. But that's for a different reason. Okay. And it was. No, that's what it's all about. I literally have played to one man and a dog, and I've played to 500,000 people in festivals. So it's all good.
Okay, so the hits sort of they get lower and lower, then they sort of dry up, which happens with virtually every band anyway. So it looks like we sort of had a bit of a rest from the Blow Monkeys, and then I'm just trying to get the years right here. In the early noughties, mid noughties, you seemed to bounce back, and it seems to be virtually all the original members.
Yeah, well, I mean, what happened was we split up at the end of our contract with RCA in 1990, and we all went our separate ways, and we had families. And I went on and made solo albums, and I did about 10 solo albums, and I worked with a lot of people like Paul Weller, and I did a lot of stuff. And then comes, fast forward sort of 15 years, kids are growing up, I felt like being in a band again. So there was only one band for us, and that was just the original members. We got back together and started making records again. So we've made, 4 or 5 albums since we got back together, and done lots of touring, and, we just love it.
Well, I can see this here. So Devil's Tavern seems to be the earliest one. Then we sort of get into more recent times. Staring at the Sea, 2011. Feels Like a New Morning, 2013. 2015 was If Not Now, When? And 2017, The Wild Rover. So that's... Yeah, River, sorry. It's, so that's... seems pretty prolific.
Very close to being. A lot of people might have thought it was the Wild Rover, but that's a very different record.
It is. I didn't think.
It's only one letter though. It's an easy mistake to make.
And the Wild River from 2017. Yeah. Okay. So we seem to be bringing out. Certainly the releases seem a bit closer together, so it seems a lot more prolific. But okay, let's get ourselves to last year, 2020 lockdown. How has Dr. Robert been spending the lockdown? Has it been a creative time for you, or how have you been spending it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm a bit of a hermit anyway, so it hasn't changed my life that much. But I really, obviously, the not playing live has hit us very hard in lots of ways. But we've got a head down. We put out a new single last year called Time Storm, which did really well, and that's the beginning of a new album, which is coming out this year. So I've been working on that album. In fact, I'm mixing it right now. It's nearly finished. So spending time, doing what we can do, which is recording, because the technology has made it possible for everybody to do their parts remotely and get together on Zoom sessions. And so, you just make the best of what you can, because I live in Spain, the rest of the band live in London. So we're being creative and just biding our time, putting the record out, and can't wait to get out there again. Like everyone, I guess. That's
great. It's also great to speak to somebody that hasn't written a lockdown record about lockdown, because I don't actually know how many I've been sent, but I would think it's actually getting to somewhere towards 1,000 from different artists. And so it's nice to hear that there's an album in the on its way. And
yeah, listen, I took the view that the last thing people want to hear about is the lockdown. It's similar to that line from Bill Hicks, the comedian, who said the last thing Jesus Christ wants to see when he comes back is a cross.
I see that.
That's kind of the same mentality.
I could see that. Good way of putting it. So anyway, so the song you just finished, the album you're working on, are you just awaiting for lockdown to be over, or doesn't it play any part in it? It's just been.
No, we've got a new single coming out in April, and then and we'll carry on releasing stuff, and the album itself will come out in September. So it doesn't really matter whether or not lockdown is lifted or not. We're going to just carry on because we're in a creative sort of streak. I feel like it's a good time for me to be writing. So. Everyone's at home, everyone's on their computers and blah blah blah. So it's a good time to send music out to the world.
Absolutely. And, if you could make sure that I'm on your list for future, releases, that'd be fantastic.
I'll make sure that Ron sorts you out.
That'd be brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so it looks a very exciting future with the Blow Monkey, certainly. And
I hope so.
Yeah, well, it sounds it anyway. It's not for want of trying. It all sounds very upbeat and positive from your end, Robert. Okay, so I think we probably almost answered the next question. We always say, assuming lockdowns is finally over, once and for all, somewhere around 6 months' time, or we say Christmas, January next year, where would you, Robert, and the Blow Monkeys, where would you all like to be career-wise? Would it be touring or just plodding on?
I don't even think about it like that. We just take it as it comes. I mean, we've put a new record out. Hopefully it'll do well. We've got a tour booked in October. I don't know if that's going to go ahead, but if it doesn't, we'll move it to the next spring. We'll just take it when it comes, because at this point, I really enjoy every aspect of playing live, and we're no spring chickens either. So you just never know when how long the band can go on for, when it might be the last tour, the last gig, the last record. Hopefully it won't, because we're very creative. But so in other words, I just make the most of all of it. Really, I don't really have a career plan at this point.
No, I mean, you certainly are very creative anyway. I mean, it's thought, oh, yeah, well, that'd be ideal. And, it sounds very upbeat to having a chat with you as well. Just fantastic. It's always, I think people at home listening just want that sort of, like, it's nice to have somebody upbeat, because it's also depressing what people are talking about. So somebody that knows where they want to be, and the touring, it just sounds pretty exciting, Rob.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, it's very sad what's happened, and there's been a lot of tragic stories, but it's also it's a time of great change, and out of that change can come some very positive things, and you just have to imagine that, otherwise you go down. And so music for me is a real healing thing in the world, and I'm proud to be part of that kind of thing. It feels like a good thing to be doing in this time.
Sure. I mean, just thinking, when you were a kid or a teenager, do you have any influences, or has the Blow Monkey style just developed through yourself and the other members of the band working together?
Well, of course there were influences. I mean, I when the first musician that really hit me, I guess, when I was young, was Mark Bolan, and then later on, punk came along, and punk was people of my generation, my age. And then, people, just so much. I mean, soul music was always massive when I was growing up. When I grew up in a place called Kings Lynn, that was a real northern soul town. And such a mixture. And also the stuff that I'd heard coming from my sister's bedroom. I've got two sisters that are older than me, so that was all Beatles and, Bacharach and David. It's all in the mix there, really. I kind of love everything, really, except for heavy metal.
And out of your own songs that you've brought out over the years, which would you say was your favourite?
To be honest, right now, the last single is called Time Storm.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, we'll give that a little spin at the end anyway. Don't worry, I'll be tidying this up anyway. But no, I shall find that, and I will definitely play that at the end. Right, can you think of anything else you want to add, Rob, before we go onto the websites and things?
No, something you can.
Oh, okay, no problem. So, Robert, this is your opportunity to tell listeners at home about Facebook pages, groups, websites. This is your moment, mate.
Well, I'm not so great on the old social media, but I have on Twitter, and the Facebook page.
Right, I'll stop you there. We seem to be breaking up at the moment. Hold on, just that last bit. Okay, they just started breaking up. Okay, Rob. Yeah, it sounds perfect now. Yep, fine. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, well, on the socials, I've got a Twitter handle. Is that what they call it? I think, at the Blow Monkeys. And we have a Facebook page, the official Facebook page, the Blow Monkeys again. And, of course, a website, www.theblowmonkeys.com, where you can get involved with helping, all sorts of kind of things there to do with the new album. All kinds of offers to get involved. So yeah, we've got a presence.
Sounds very, very exciting. That does. Very exciting indeed. Did we mention? I heard the Twitter, but did we mention the website, Rob?
Yes, we did.
Perfect. I'll just go back through it. That's fine. It's all coming through fine now. Okay. Well, it's which name to call you really, Robert. Dr. Robert, it's been a pleasure having you on Chatterbox, and do keep in touch and let us know when your releases are coming up, and we'll give them a little bit of a spin for you, my friend.
That's lovely. Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.